Today, I'm going to talk about San Francisco and some time that I spent there. So let's see, it was 1997, probably early spring of 97, maybe February, and I had just spent a few months reading about Ayurvedic medicine, teaching myself yoga through different books on Ayurveda and meditation, and reading about like natural healthcare herbs. And this was after a very uncomfortable period of withdrawal and quitting like drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, everything. You know, my dad, when I was a teenager, he said, you know, someday you might find that you like meditation more than doing drugs. And I was just like, okay, whatever, Dad. And you know, but it was true. You know, I sat down to meditate one day, and it was just like everything. It just felt so good, and it was like the drugs and the alcohol and what used to be fun was no longer fun. So I'd kind of been a squatter, hitchhiking, traveling, and living out of my car, living on the streets with you know, like the gutter punk scene in Seattle on the West Coast, and some friends of mine. I'll call him Donald, and his friend, I'll call her Sega. So Donald's like, hey, we're going to San Francisco. We have to do this stuff there. Sega has a car, and we're going to be there for a little while. I'm going to go visit my friend. We'll call him Crow. And he's like, and I really want you to come because, you know, you're like good luck. I hadn't been, you know, hanging out with like my street friends for a bit, but I was like, yeah, I need to get out, you know, because I'd been at my parents' house for a little bit of that time when I was, you know, kind of recovering, and they drove me crazy. So I couldn't be around them, you know. I was like, yeah, let's go to San Francisco. Let's have some fun. I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to San Francisco. Donald's, you know, we've got a car. We're gonna go, and you know, they're freaking out because they had just seen what I had gone through. And I remember, you know, we were like in my old, what used to be my bedroom, and it kind of been turned into my mom's office. You know, so they're like, no, you're not going to San Francisco. Sometimes, and it's funny because sometimes I get mad now, you know, look back at my mom was dealing with her mom who was dying, and like, how did I get away with doing all this stuff? Like, why didn't my parents ever try and stop me? And I'm like, they tried, you know. It's like this long conversation. We were fighting, lots of F words probably flying around, and you know, and I was just like, I'm going, and I'm going, damn it, you're not gonna stop me. That's how it was. And we walk out of the room, and my brother and Sega are downstairs, and they blasted the radio, and it's that, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. My brother had turned it up on full blast, you know, from the downstairs kitchen, so the whole house is like, if you're going to San Francisco. And it was just like, oh my God, this is perfect. You know, how perfect. And so my brother's like, yeah, fly, little bird, go, adventure, be free. So I go, and we're heading down. I think we made it in the car as far as like to just below the Oregon border, Northern California. We're at a rest stop. The car is dead. It's full of our junk and crap. And we're just like stuck there. I think we abandoned the car. I talked to a truck driver. I was like, hey, can we get a ride to San Francisco? So we let us sleep with him in the cab. And I remember he dropped us off in Oakland in his big rig. And the next day, and I spent a few months there, and you know, just kind of hanging out with all the punks there, like the, you know, kids on Haight-Ashbury in the Haight district, and running into friends of mine, like travelers who I'd known for a couple years. And I would often play basketball. There's a park that runs parallel to Haight Street, and I would go sometimes play basketball. And you know, kids, like all these punks, when they were panhandling, they would take the basketball and like dribble in front of the people, like, you know, trying like aggressively panhandling. Oh, people hate street kids. And, you know, sometimes it's funny because people sometimes talk about, oh, like all those homeless kids, you know, that used to be hanging out in Hollywood. And I'm just like, yeah, yeah, I was one of them. You know, I don't usually say that, but it's true. But I remember, you know, because remember, Donald was like, we want you to come with us because you're like, good luck. What had happened was, so we were all, Crow, Sega, Donald, my boyfriend and I, we were sleeping under like this on-ramp to a freeway. And we'd slept there, for a few weeks or whatever. And one morning I remember waking up and they were all smoking pot. And I just had a dream. I was like, I just had this weird dream that, that like we came back here and all of our stuff was scattered all over the hillside. And then the cops were telling us that they had, that like they're doing construction there and we had to leave. And, okay, whatever. They're like, okay, And my boyfriend and I get up and we start to walk back because we're going to go down to Haight Street to like, find a place to get free food or whatever. And there's cops walking toward us. And we're just like, just walking along, like not like, okay, nope, we're not sleeping here. We're just walking along. We're just in the neighborhood, just hanging out. And so we leave. We go down to Haight Street. And then later we run into our friends and they're like, you're not going to believe it. That those cops that were coming in right after you left, they told us that we had to leave because they're going to start construction there. And so later that afternoon, we all went back to get our stuff and the cops had thrown it all down the hillside. It was all scattered along the hillside, just like in, the dream that I had told them about that morning. So it was really wild. They were all like, whoa, Aaron, like, what is going on? Like, how did you know? And I'm just like, yeah, I had dreams like that every night. My teenage years, I had premonition dreams like that, and it used to freak me out. That's a whole other topic. But yeah, so another thing that when, in this sort of search for like food and just thinking about how like, people are so judgmental of like homeless kids and people and I was thinking the other day how I still remember, because we would eat like dry, like, bagels that places were throwing out, or there were like shelters and soup kitchens where you could get some decent food. There's a great, I don't know if it's still there, but the Church of John Coltrane, St. John's or whatever, they had good food and amazing jazz music. That was something. But yeah, there was this Mexican place on Haight Street, and I remember going in there and just like, you just like want to eat good food because you haven't eaten food and like warm food and like a proper meal, and you're just like scrapping and getting by, and the businesses, they don't want you to come in there, and people put bleach in dumpsters so that you can't dumpster dive and get free food that's still totally good and all kinds of stuff. So I asked this person who worked at this place that had, really good tacos and burritos. I was like, are there anything that like you're throwing away that I could get? And somebody had ordered a burrito, but then changed their mind or didn't show up, or it was the wrong order or something. And so, he said, yeah, well, there's this burrito and, I'll give it to you for like $1. And I had $1. I had spare change like 4 quarters earlier. So I had $1. I got the burrito and I just remember like, oh, it was like, so it had been sitting under the heat lamp, so it was like warm and it had shrimp in it. And I was just like, it's so good and like nourishing. And this is 23 years ago. And I still remember that just so vividly, like just that little moment. And I have a lot of stories like this of, little moments, people that would actually just like be kind and help you out or help me out. And, it's just stuck with me all this time. Like, those little acts of kindness are so big. And, I remember walking into that same place with my boyfriend, like, we'd get $1 and we'd be like, okay, let's go see if they have a burrito. And it was, just so amazing. You have no idea. Sometimes just like helping people just a little bit actually can go a really long way. Also, one of the things that, we do have to sort of give to ourselves, like we have to take time and get rested and really nurture ourselves so that we can be giving to other people. But, even if there's something little that you can do for somebody, maybe just somebody asks, maybe just help them out.